So I just wanted to welcome you and say thank you so much for joining us. My name is Madeline. I'll be your host today. Welcome to today's presentation, Managing by Numbers. Today's webinar is brought to you by LEAP and Certified Contractors Network. LEAP is a sales enablement software that reduces errors and redundancies that slows down your sales process. With LEAP, you can check your documents, estimates, brochures, personal checks, handwritten notes, and measurements, and put them into one digital location to power your business. CCN provides valuable hands-on consulting and networking between non-competitive contractors. With members in most states of the United States and Canada, we are committed to enhancing the professionalism, performance, and precision of your the construction industry. Before we get started, I'd like to put a poll up. I want to know if you're currently tracking your numbers. I know everyone does it a little differently. Let me put the poll up here. Here you go. I'll leave this up on the screen for just a minute. If you want to go ahead and tell me, yes, you are tracking them, but maybe you've never looked at them or you don't know how to go back and you don't know what to do with them once you have tracked them. No, you don't track them and you're here to learn how and what you should be tracking. Or yes, you do track them and you're referring back to them often and using them in your everyday business. It really looks like we got it's actually completely even. We have 33% on all of them. So I love to see that little bit of everything. Perfect. And, I'm going to leave this up on the screen for just a sec. If you haven't answered, go ahead and put it in there. One of the main goals of tracking your KPIs is measuring progress towards specific goals and long-term objectives that quantifiable milestones. In a sense, KPI tracking serves a benchmark for advancements and improvements. And if you aren't currently doing this, or maybe you're doing it, but you'd want to do it better, Gary is going to give you the insight on how to properly do that today. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to the people who you really want to hear from, Gary and Melissa. You can go ahead and kick it off.
Great. Thanks, Madeline. And Madeline, I'm sure they love hearing from you as well. So please don't sell yourself short. So welcome, everyone. I'm Gary Cohen. Welcome to our event. It's brought to you both by LEAP and CCN. We are strategic partners. We work closely together, and we're pleased to be delivering this event to you today. Again, I'm Gary Cohen. I'm Vice President of Certified Contractors Network. So I guess the real question, because you don't know me, is why listen to me? So I'll try to answer that for you. I'm a former president and CEO of 3 different companies that served the DIY home improvement industry. I hold an accounting degree from the University of Maryland and an MBA from Regis University. I spent 11 years, I took a hiatus from corporate life and spent 11 years as a former clinical professor at the University of Maryland's Robert H. Smith School of Business. I taught several business courses, and I'm also a certified business and leadership coach. I would also like Melissa to introduce herself, as well as Fred. Melissa, could you please take a moment?
Yeah, absolutely. I am so happy to be here. I'm Melissa. I am the product marketing manager at LEAP, still relatively new to the position. So I'm learning a lot about this industry, about how to really help contractors in the space. I know I'm going to learn a lot from Gary. In my career, I've been doing SaaS marketing for the past 10 years and have helped companies grow from 0 to 1 million users in my time, and really happy to be using that background to help LEAP and to help our customers really find the most success that they can.
Thanks so much, Melissa. So happy you're with us.
Thank you.
Fred, how about you?
Yeah, Gary, thanks so much. So I am actually Fred Nelson, and I am the membership coach here at CCN. So I'm the person who actually introduces all of our new members to our value content and why it's such a strong value proposition to become a member of CCN and how we're going to help your company grow and expand. But I have over 25 years in sales and business development in various different industries, to include technology, fundraising, and even finance. And I'm also bronze certified in Sandler, so I take a very strong sales consultative approach whenever I do my presentations. So I think you'll get a lot out of it if you decide to book a call with me today.
Great. Thanks so much, Fred. All right. So listen, we have 3 gifts for all of you who have attended that you will be able to claim. So we're going to ask you to stay till the end of the webinar and learn about these gifts. So again, stay with us for the duration, because you don't want to miss this opportunity. And let's jump into our content today. By the way, Fred will be answering questions in the Q&A. So if while I'm delivering content, you have questions, feel free to ask those questions in the Q&A section, and he'll be happy to respond. All right, so let's start by talking about what home improvement companies look like in the United States. So this is a really sobering statistic, because out of every 100 home improvement companies in the United States, 50 will go out of business within the first 5 years. 30 more will year in and year out basically break even. Essentially, all they're really doing is the owners creating a decent job for themselves, but they're not building wealth. Another 15 will squeeze out somewhere between a 1 and 5% loss and a 1 and 5% profit, depending upon the year. But once again, the owner is taking all the risks of ownership, but not building wealth. And only 5%, only 5 out of 100 home improvement companies will run a good, robust business and consistently earn 10% net profits or better. Okay, so that's everybody's goal. Every contractor should have a goal to be in that unique 5%. And frankly, there's really nothing holding you back other than some knowledge, some systems, and some processes. And I'm going to go over some of that with you today, and you'll have a good idea of what you need to do to get to that place where we have so many stories of contractors in that 5% who went from nothing to building incredible wealth, huge homes that are paid for, fancy cars paid for, boats that are paid for. This is actually doable. So let's jump in further and explore. So before we get into statistics and actual metrics, let's talk about the most important things. What companies do today. Why do most companies not reach that 5%? Number one, most are practicing what we call reactive leadership. It's not proactive leadership. Does it sound familiar that maybe you're putting out a lot of fires every day? That's what we call reactive leadership. When you're spending your time reacting to situations that are happening in your business, as opposed to spending time on strategically planning your business and your path. Most companies have poor or inaccurate financials and metrics in the contracting space. Now, I don't fault contractors for this, because most contractors came up through the trades. They never had formal financial training. They never had that formal business management training. And as a result, their financials are not robust. And when your financials are not robust, you have no idea where you really stand. You could think you're making money, but be losing money. And we've seen some pretty incredible things when it comes to looking at the financials and metrics of contractors. Another common thing is contractors, many do not work on a written budget or plan. Okay, I don't mean just a plan in your head. I mean a detailed written plan. If it's just in your head, it's just a dream. It's not really a plan. Okay, you have to write that down and have a plan that you're working and referring to every single day. Others contractors say they want to grow, but either they don't know how, or they just don't have a plan for growth. They don't know how to plan for growth. So hopefully we can help you here today in this brief webinar. So Albert Einstein said, and I know you've all heard this, that insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. So here's the question I'm going to ask you. If you are not in that 5% that I mentioned on that first slide and building extraordinary wealth, in addition to having a strong contracting business, would you like to make the changes necessary and not do the same thing all the time so that you can get more positive results? How many people would say yes to that? I hope everybody. You can feel free to type in the box. I'd like to see how many people said yes. Fred will report back to me. All right, so let's get started. It all starts with what I call intentional strategic leadership. And there are many steps to intentional strategic leadership. And so we begin at the beginning. It's start. So we start with a true understanding of where you are today. Please underline the word true. Be honest with yourself. Okay, where is your business today? You have to know where you are today before you can plan where you want to go. Okay, now once you realize where you are today, the next step is to paint a compelling picture of where you want to go. Okay, you have to kind of create that roadmap. Where do you want to take your business? If you're a $3 million company today, do you want to be a $10 million company, a $12 million company, a $20 million company, or more? What are your aspirations? Where do you want to take your business? By the way, if you want to take it to 20 million, I'm going to tell you right now, it's probably doable, but it's going to take a lot of work and it's going to take some changes on your part. And that's why we're here. We're here to help. Next, you're going to have to define the opportunity cost and the benefit of the picture you've just painted. So let me explain an opportunity cost. That means whatever resources, financial or human, that you dedicate to initiative A means you don't have those resources for initiative B. Okay, so you have to think through your picture that you're painting and say, okay, this is what I'm going to be giving up to take this road, but here's the benefit I expect to receive from going down this path that I have now painted. I hope that makes sense to everyone. And I'm going to move to the next slide because we're not done. Next, we need to stretch. We need to educate and stretch your team. I don't care whether you have 2 people on your team, 20 people on your team, or 150 people on your team. Everybody on your team must be best in class. Anything less than best in class in any one role in your company means you're not meeting your potential. So I want you to listen to that very carefully. Okay, you must educate and stretch your team so that everyone is best in class in the roles they're in. In other words, they need to be the best person to be on the seat of your bus. Okay, and if they're not the best person for that seat, somebody else needs to be in that seat. We'll talk more about that later. Don't lie. Okay, it's common. Sometimes we just don't like to admit to ourselves about where we really are. Don't lie to yourself about being better than you really are. Let's just be painfully honest with ourselves. You know, guys, I've been through this. I launched 4 startups in my career. And, you know, I had to learn to be painfully honest with myself because frankly, in my early days, I wasn't all that honest with myself. Not because I'm a liar, and I don't believe any of you are liars either, but none of us likes to admit that we're not better than we are. It's a hard thing to do, but let's just be honest. Next thing, we have to measure. We need to measure yourself against the best. Look at the best out there. Look at other contractors you admire, whether they're in your marketplace or not in your marketplace. I'm sure you know of other contracting firms that you aspire to be like. So measure yourself against them and be honest about the gaps you see between your business and their business. Really do a deep dive. Take a good hard look. What's missing in your plan that they have in their plan that's enabling them to grow so rapidly and be significantly larger and more profitable? These are all things you need to take a look at. I want you to think about gamifying your business. Now, let me explain that. We all like to play games. We all like to be competitive. So when I say gamify where possible, I'm talking about creating things in your business that create a competitive edge. So let me give you one example. Create contests internally with your company, with your team. Create contests and give out gifts or awards or gift cards to winners. Do it on a weekly basis. Do it on a monthly basis, but do it. People like to be competitive and you want to gamify where possible because what that does is it raises the bar on individual performances on your team. So I want you to think about adding that to the mix. Now, additionally, you always have to take time to pause. You have to pause so that you can routinely and evaluate your performance. You painted that picture, but along the way, you may have to make adjustments. You might hit a detour in the road. So you have to take that pause and just evaluate where you are and how things are going, and then modify as necessary so that you can get back on track towards that compelling future that you painted for yourself. I hope that makes sense to everyone. It may sound simplistic, but my guess is most people aren't going through this whole process. Now, when we look at industry best companies, when we look at our specific industry, home improvement contractors, what are the common traits of the fastest growing and most profitable companies in our industry? Their financials are robust, they are 100% accurate, and they are timely. They're getting a monthly financial statement report every month within the first 15 days of the month following the month that just ended. So you are always on top of your business. The really successful companies, they're doing this really well. Okay, also industry best companies, their margins are really strong. The fastest growing companies in the US have the highest profit margins, gross profit margins, and net profit margins. So I want you to think about that. And by the way, at CCN, we have members across all the US and Canada. We teach our membership how to get their gross profits up around 50%. Okay, it doesn't matter whether you're a roofing contractor, a siding contractor, a kitchen and bath contractor, a deck contractor, that makes no difference. That's just the product. But every contractor that's doing home improvement contracting should be able to get their margins to that level. And the end result of that, if you're managing your expenses well, is that you hopefully will generate a minimum of a 10% net profit margin. So the idea there is, if you're doing 2 million in sales, you should, after paying everything, including all your salaries, you should be left with $200,000 that you can take home to the bank. Okay, so that's just an example. Now, what about numbers that lie to us? Gross revenue lies to us. Now, let me explain why gross revenue lies. Gross revenue lies because it's a trailing number. Your revenue is something that already happened. It's not something that it's about to happen. You're looking at revenue that happened. So you have to forecast your revenue going forward, not assume that your revenue will be the same as it was in the past. Okay, hopefully your revenue will be higher going forward. But of course, we have a lot of external forces at play. The economy, we are potentially on the brink of a recession. During COVID, we saw a huge boost to the home improvement contracting business because people weren't spending money on anything else. And they were spending, so leads were coming in left and right. Now, most contractors say their lead flow has dropped. So we have to see that these numbers can sometimes lie. So let's look forward, not back. Cash-based net income. So here's a really important point. If you don't remember anything else I tell you today, I hope you'll remember this. Cash-based net income is fine for tax purposes, but not for assessing the performance of your business. We need to be GAAP compliant. GAAP is generally accepted accounting principles, okay? And to be GAAP compliant, you should be running your business on an accrual basis, not a cash basis. Here's why. If you run it on a cash basis, you are not being honest about your profitability. Let me give you an example, and you'll see the next bullet point says current cash balance. I like to call this checkbook accounting, okay? It's not a good way to function. So let's say you just won 2 huge jobs and you just took in 2 very large deposits. Okay, what happened? Your checkbook swelled because of those 2 deposits, but you have not incurred any expenses yet for those 2 jobs. Okay, so that's a very misleading number in your checkbook. Okay, you're seeing you really don't even have revenue yet. Those deposits you took in are technically a liability on your balance sheet. They don't count as revenue because you haven't earned it yet. Okay, now I could go much deeper into this if we teach a whole day course on all this. So I can't go too deep, but I think you understand what I'm saying. Recent sales or sales trends, well, that's history. What are your trends going forward? You need to look forward. What's the market like around you? What are conditions in the market? Okay, what are the conditions within your company? Now you need to forecast your sales and your trends. You can't rely on what happened in the past. Another number that lies is this talk about the market price. I want you to just flush that down the toilet. I don't want you thinking about market price. There is really no such thing. And what I mean by that is this: your price is based on the value proposition that you deliver to the customer. So your price may be higher than another contractor in your vicinity because you may be offering a greater value proposition. The last thing you want to be doing is selling on price. And what you do want to be doing is selling on your unique value proposition. We teach an entire course on a unique value proposition. So just keep that in mind if you want to learn how to do that. And gross profit percentage lies to us in this way. Your gross profit margin in dollars are what they are, but they're not indicative of your net profit if you're not managing your expenses properly. So in that sense, they lie. Okay, let's move on. So you are the leader. You are the conductor of this symphony. And this symphony is all of your employees. You've got people in sales. You've got people in production. You've got people in the administrative side. You may have people in marketing. You're the one who has to get everybody working cohesively together to maximize financial results. So this is a very, very important slide. So I want you to pay very close attention. This is what we call the virtuous cycle of success for a home improvement contracting business. So I'm going to take you through 8 steps in your business. Doesn't matter who you are, even if I've never met you, you do have 8 steps in your contracting business. And I want to talk through what your goal is so that you can improve your numbers. So if you look at number 1 in the top left-hand corner, it all starts with branding and marketing. Until you have marketed your company, until people know you exist, it's unlikely you're going to get any business. They have to know about you in order for them to give you business. Well, that comes from your branding and marketing. So you have to have a branding and marketing plan, and you have to execute on that plan. Now at CCN, we teach you all about that. We teach a 3-day course on marketing, on how to brand and market your company. So here's what I want you to think about. I want you to think about taking number 1, branding and marketing, and I want you to think about what minor little improvements can I make to my branding and marketing? Just little ones, little baby steps. I'm not talking about taking a huge leap, no pun intended. Okay. So think about that, and then think about this little bit that you can add into your branding and marketing. Okay. Now you move to 2. Number 2 is call center and lead processing. Now, if you're not big enough to have a full call center, you still have somebody handling lead processing and inbound calls. So whoever's doing that for you, what can you do to make a very small improvement in the performance of your inbound calls and lead processing? Here's what I'm going to tell you. The secret to success is if you make micro changes to each of these 8 steps, each time you go through the cycle, the results are huge because they multiply. Because if you're making these little improvements in each of these 8 steps, and you continue to do that each time you go around, think of the progress you're going to make. Now we move to step 3. It's now passed off to the sales team and the sales manager, right? So now it's up to the sales process. Is your sales process the best it can be? Okay, now I don't know all of you on this call, but I'm going to take a stab at saying my guess is no. Okay, my guess is no, because we are never going to reach perfection. We are always on a course of continuous improvement. And that means that every one of these 8 steps, there is absolutely room for improvement. So what little steps can you take in sales management and sales to ensure that your sales team is going to raise the bar on performance and close more contracts? Okay, that's where the rubber meets the road. And again, CCN trains on all of these categories. We'll get into this later. Let's go to number 4. Pre-production. So you have to go to pre-production and building out firewalls in your business. You know, when we teach production mastery, we spend a lot of time on building firewalls. Firewalls will save you money and aggravation and increase your profits. So what are you doing in the pre-production process and in the process of building firewalls for your production department? Okay, so that you can avoid unnecessary expenses, unnecessary delays, unnecessary inefficiencies, and so forth. Again, those minor little improvements collectively have a huge impact. Number 5, we look at production. Again, we can always improve in the area of production. And what you might, if you have multiple production teams, you should be comparing them and comparing what is their performance, what is their productivity. How long does it take them to do jobs of a particular size? How can we raise the bar for those who are dragging us down? Okay, so we have to break it down to the least common denominator and look at every piece. And that way we can conduct what I like to call a root cause analysis to figure out what we need to do to improve and be better. Okay, and then we'll move to step 6. Now we're in post-production TQM, total quality management, and our customer experience feedback loop. Obviously, all of you on this call should have one and only one thing in mind, and that is 100% customer satisfaction. Okay, if you have 100% customer satisfaction, here's what's going to happen. Number 1, you will get referrals. You will get referrals from their neighbors, their friends, their relatives. And let me tell you what, there's nothing better than a referral, because guess how much that lead cost you? Nothing, 0. Okay, so, you know, this really pulls down your cost per lead when you get a bunch of free ones. Okay, also, it's warm market. Your customer recommended this to their friend or family member. They trust their friend or family member, so they implicitly now trust you. So, but this is not going to happen if you do not create an extraordinary customer experience. I hope that makes sense to everyone. So this is something you want to do. By the way, if you are in more than one product line, like let's say you do roofing, siding, windows, doors, and decks. Let's say you do all of that. The other advantage of complete customer satisfaction is customer lifetime value. If you did such a great job for that customer on their roof, and now they need to have some siding work done or want to put in a deck, guess what? They're going to call you because they had a great experience with you. Once again, the cost of that lead, 0. Okay, we move to step 7. Okay, we've conducted all this business. We're post-production. Now it's time to look at our financials for the job and look at our KPI review. And let's get our takeaways. It's only after we've looked at our financial statements overall, financials for each job, and our key performance indicators and metrics, it's only then that we can uncover issues, okay? Issues that can be improved upon. And this will happen every time through the cycle. Remember what I said? We're all about continuous improvement. None of us is perfect. We will probably never be perfect, but our goal is to keep getting better, because that will translate to bigger net profits. So now you've realized where you fell short after number 7, because now in 8, you're going to go through this whole root cause analysis I mentioned, and you're going to put together an action plan for how to improve upon these areas that fell short. Now, I've just taken you through just one trip through this cycle, but you're going through this cycle on an ongoing basis with every job you get. Think about it. Every single job goes through this cycle. What, again, I'm going to be repetitive. What if you could make just little tiny minor improvements in each of these 8 steps each time you perform the steps? Cumulatively over a year, how much better are you going to be? The answer, much better. The results, much better. So again, this is a very important slide, and I want you to think about all these steps in the process, from your marketing and branding all the way through financials and root cause analysis. Okay, this is a real winner for you. I want everybody to start going through this process. Okay, then we rinse and repeat, right? It's a virtuous cycle. Each time you go through the process of improvement, your productivity increases and your financial results will multiply. Okay, it's amazing. It's really amazing. It's simple, but it's not easy. Okay, I'll say it again. It's conceptually, it's simple, but it's not easy. But this is very doable with the right coaching. And that's what we're all here for. You know, the folks at Leap and the folks at CCN, our goal is to make you guys better. And the services and products we offer are to make you better. That's our entire goal. All right, I'm going to pass to Melissa now. She's going to speak to what Leap does in this area to achieve your sales goals.
Yeah, and Gary's given us so many amazing strategies that can really help you reach that 5% that are really making that great profit. But one of the things that you have to have is great tools to help you get there. And of course, Leap is one of those tools that can help you protect those margins, retain incredible talent within your organization, train people who are coming in, and make it easy for those customers to say yes. So just for example, discounts are a great way to have your sales reps make those sales, make the close easier, but sometimes they can get a little overeager, oversell, and cut into your margins. One of the things as a leader that you can do within Leap is set it up so that those discounts are still available, but they will not cut into your margins. And also with this current economic climate that we've been talking about, we may be going into a recession. Homeowners are going to be a lot more protective of the money that they have in their pocket. You can do financing right within Leap using one of our 12 different lenders. And those lenders will meet every borrower's needs. You know, we have some that can speak to those with great credit and those with not so great credit. Human error is another thing that really can cut into your margins. You know, if you mismeasure something, if you type in something incorrectly and you order the wrong amount of something, that's a big mistake and can, you know, take that profit percentage from 10 back down to the 1 to 5 range, where you're surviving, but you may not be thriving yet. So within Leap, we have really amazing integrations with some of our the best-in-class measurement tools, so that you can be absolutely certain that those measurements are perfect, they're exact, and you can order those products and be sure that you are not cutting into those margins. So those are just a few of the reasons why Leap really helps you achieve those sales goals. You have the strategy from Gary. You can start implementing some of those tactics with a tool like Leap.
Thank you so much, Melissa. That was awesome. Okay, so now let's jump into the nitty-gritty. You need to monitor and record performance metrics in at least 5 categories: marketing, sales, production, financial, and what I call CQ. You'll know what that means in a minute. But we're going to get into these. And I just want to give you a quick overview of what that looks like and about all the things you should absolutely be tracking on a regular basis. I'm going to pass back to Melissa now. She has a little more to say regarding your finance KPIs.
Yeah, so with Leap, it's very easy to make those adjustments, you know, as you're going through your root cause, figuring out what it is that's been affecting your finances, where you can make those tiny changes. in that virtuous cycle, Leap is there to help you. So, for example, you can increase the price of certain products as inflation starts to hit us. You can make mass price changes so that your margins are always protected as the market continues to change. It's also really important to provide a great customer experience. And so with something like Leap, you're able to take your iPad into the homeowner's home, have everything listed out there. We do good, better, best pricing. It's easy for them to say yes. They see everything laid out, and you can rest easy knowing that your reps are out there. They're making those sales. It's very easy. It's very professional, and your margins are very protected. And one other thing that if you're on this webinar, you get a little bit of a sneak preview. We will be releasing a reporting function here very soon, and we're very excited about it. And that's also going to really help you track these KPIs right within Leap.
All right. Thank you so much, Melissa. Let's talk about marketing KPIs. Now, I want you to think about marketing. Marketing is one of your biggest line items in your operating expenses. I mean, once you get past payroll, marketing could very well be your next largest spend. So it's really important that you spend properly and that you don't waste money. That happens a lot in marketing, and there's some trial and error in marketing. So let's talk about it. You should be measuring inbound leads, but not in its aggregate. So I don't want you to say, oh, we got 100 leads in January. We got 80 leads in February. We got 110 leads in March. That's not correct. Okay, because that doesn't tell you anything. You have to dig deeper to know how you can improve. So you want to look at your inbound leads in 3 different ways. You want to look at inbound leads by the source of the leads, because my thinking is you probably, like a lot of companies, are getting leads from multiple sources. Track where your leads are coming from. What are your number of inbound leads by source? What are your number of inbound leads by product line? That's the PL that you see. Like I said, you may not be a one product house. You may be doing roofing, gutters, siding, windows, doors. You need to measure your inbound leads by product line as well. Because if you just look at the aggregate, you may have a product line that's getting very few leads, but it's lost in the big number. So you need to drill down to that least common denominator. And the other thing is you need to look at inbound leads by zip code. So look at all the zip codes you're serving, and let's make sure we uncover our leads per zip code, because once again, you will discover some things. If you're getting a large number of leads from a particular zip code, you may want to market more to that zip code because you are resonating better with that zip code. If you are getting almost no leads from a zip code, you have to reevaluate what's happening in that zip code. Is it that that zip code is a different demographic and they can't afford the services that you're offering? I don't know what it is, but the only way you're going to find out is to break down looking at leads in these 3 different ways. And you should be looking at this at least on a monthly basis. You should be measuring this every single month by source, by product line, by zip code. Now let's look at CPL, cost per lead. Now you need to look at your lead costs by source of the leads, once again, by product line and by zip code, for the same reason I just explained before. It's only when you drill down very specifically like that, that you will uncover what's working really well and what's not working well at all. And then you can make course corrections. I hope this is making sense. Again, if anybody has questions, send them to Fred. He'll do his best to take care of you. Contact rate, number of homeowners contacted against total opportunities that we've got. Now, that should be as close to 100% as possible, right? Anytime you have an opportunity coming your way, we should be contacting that particular homeowner. So that should be as close to 100% as possible. You should track that every month. If you're managing by the numbers and you look at your metrics and financials each month and you see that your contact rate had a huge dip in a month, it's your responsibility then to go to your team and dig in and figure out why did that happen? because there were lost opportunities because that contact rate dropped. Those lost opportunities could have been lost revenue for you. Then we look at our set rate, which is appointments set as a percentage of people contacted. Okay, so how well is your call center or your person involved with inbound leads coming in? How good a job are they doing with setting appointments? Do you have multiple appointment setters on your team? If so, are you tracking each of their set rates separately so we can look at performance? So for example, if Fred and Melissa were both appointment setters and Melissa had a set rate of 80% and Fred had a set rate of 50%, I would be kind of wondering, why is Fred only at 50%? Okay, so Fred would be hearing from me. Okay, and let's uncover why. All right, this is very, very important. Okay, issued rates. Okay, that's confirmed appointments versus appointments set. Okay, because once you make that appointment, somebody on your team should be calling to confirm that appointment before your sales rep goes out on that demo. All right, what is that issued rate? It should be extraordinarily high. You should be running that at least once a month. Like I said, reviewing it along with your financial statements. This is critically important. Also, measure call rate. Your measure call rate is measure calls completed against leads issued. This is a very important metric. Okay, obviously you want that percentage to be as high as possible. So again, these are just 6 sets of metrics that you really need to do in marketing. And there's really more than 6 because some of them you're measuring in multiple ways. Let's take a look at sales. I already talked about measure call. I put that in sales as well. Okay, because your salesperson's going out. That's sort of a tweener. It's both a marketing and a sales metric. Your demo rate is your number of demos against measure calls against leads issued. So you want to measure demo rate 2 ways. Demos against measure calls, demo rates against leads issued. They tell you different things. Okay, think about that. They each tell you something different. Your demo rate, you want that to be very high. Okay, your demo calls to measure calls should be extraordinarily high and probably a lot higher than leads issued. But if we can inch up our demo calls to leads issued, okay, our demos to leads issued, that means we're more efficient with our leads. If we're more efficient with our leads, guess what that means? Okay, our cost per leads goes down. Okay, close rate, contracts. Now we want to measure that against total demos, against total measure calls, and against leads issued. Once again, and as you know, because you know your business, they each tell you something a little bit different. Once again, we want these numbers to continually climb. Okay, now you want to do this also by sales rep. Okay, same thing with the demo rate. You want to do it by sales rep. So once again, let me use the example. If I'm picking on Fred today, he doesn't mind because he's one of us. But let's say Melissa has this 50% close rate, which is phenomenal. Okay, and you guys know that's a high close rate. And Fred's close rate is more of the norm in the industry, maybe at 30, 35%. Well, what I'm going to want to do is find out what is Melissa doing differently to get to that 50%, because I want Fred to be at that 50%. In fact, Fred wants to be at 50% because salespeople are paid a commission. So he wants it just as bad as anybody else. Okay, but we need to figure out what's happening. And the only way we can do that is by measuring our close rate by sales rep. Let's look at finance rate. Okay, number of finance jobs against total jobs sold. Now, let me tell you why that is so darn important. Okay, here's a statistic for you. 50% of all home improvement jobs valued at $5,000 or more are financed. 50%. Your sales rep should be talking about financing in a big way. Okay, because there's a chance you could be losing sales because he or she is not spending enough time on financing. Now, you already heard Melissa tell you that they've got financing partners. CCN also has financing partners, and we have discounted dealer rates because we aggregate with a whole bunch of members so we can drive down the cost of rates. And you want to be able to explain the options to your potential customer. So for example, if you have a roofing job that's $18,000, that's a lot of money to most homeowners, right? To the average person doesn't have $18,000 sitting in their bank account, unfortunately, to pay for a roof. So would you rather tell them that the job is $18,000, or would you rather tell them it's only $200 a month across X number of years? And no, you can prepay for no penalty if you do have cash coming in. Okay, that's going to be a lot easier to sell. Okay, so finance rate is a really important metric. And really, in many ways, you'd like to see that go up, okay, because the average homeowner can't afford to pay cash for a large job. Okay, and to some homeowners, $5,000 is a big number. Okay, let's not forget that. Not everybody is swimming in the cash. Okay, so we want to make sure that we're working on our finance rate. Okay, finance average versus non-finance average job size. This is a really important statistic. Are you going to find out that you're really only getting finance jobs for jobs of 15,000 and more versus total jobs sold? I'm hoping you get the point that with all of these things, all I'm asking you to do is drill down. Numbers don't lie. If you measure them properly, that's a big if. If you measure them properly, they're not going to lie, and they're going to tell you how you're really doing. So let's make sure you do it. Now, here's a rate that you want to be very low, cancellation rate. Okay, we obviously want that rate to be extraordinarily low. And so we want to look at that, and we want to look at that per sales rep. Okay, is one sales rep getting more cancellations than another percentage-wise? That's a potential problem. And again, as an owner or a general manager or a leader in the company, it's your job to find the issues in the company and fix them. The metrics enable you to find those issues and then go and fix them. Okay, monthly sales. I want you to track your monthly sales by product line. I want you to run the month-to-date number. I want you to show a year-to-date number. And I want to see you show those actual numbers against your budget for the year, against your goal for this year, but also against last year's number for that month and that year to date. That way you can see, are you really on a course of improvement? That's the only way you're really going to know. So at CCN, for example, our financial statements, our P&L has 8 columns. Okay, we have the month actual, the month percentages, percentage of sale of revenue. We go through the year to date. We do the per against goal, and we do it against prior year, each with percentages. The percentages of revenue are very important because when you scan financial state, and we train on this, guys, I know I'm moving fast, but we train on this at CCN. When you go through your financial statement, it's the percentage number that's going to show you red flags, not the absolute number. So it's not the number of dollars that's going to be the red flag. It's going to be, what is it as a percentage of revenue? Okay, so for example, if you ran your financials and you showed that your marketing costs were 8% higher in December of 22 versus December of 21, okay, and they were 6% higher than you budgeted for 2021, for 2022, then you have to dig in and uncover why. But the only way you'll know there's an issue is if you look at all these metrics. Then you want to look at your individual level performances versus team level performances by individual. Okay, this is also important. How's your team doing overall? But how's every individual doing overall? Do you have a weak link in your team? Okay, because if you have a weak link, it can mess up the whole chain. I think you guys know that. There's an old expression, one bad apple can spoil the whole bunch. Okay. And that's really what I'm saying to you. So please be cognizant of this. Let's take a look at production KPIs. Okay. You're going to want to get into capacity modeling and capacity utilization. Okay. Again, we teach all this at CCN. This is critically important because capacity modeling and capacity utilization will create greater efficiencies for you, and that will translate into much higher net profits, much higher. Okay, so if you're not doing a good job of capacity modeling and capacity utilization, then, and if you don't know how to do it, you're going to need to reach out to us because we need to show you how to do that. Okay, because that will totally transform your business. First pass yield, that's also called throughput yield. When sales passes the job, the contract onto production, what's the percentage of times production goes with it as is without any changes? Changes are an issue. Changes cost money. Changes cost time. Changes cost an interruption because you now have to address it with the customer. Okay, so you want as much in a first pass yield as possible. You want sales and production to be working in sync, not working against each other. Okay, and we know that interdepartmentally in all types of companies, in all industries, departments butt heads, but we cannot have that. We are, remember, you're the orchestra leader, you're the conductor. Every person on your team's playing a different musical instrument, but in order for the actual piece to sound good, everybody's got to be playing in unison the right way. Okay, throughput, that's your billings compared to your goal. That's a really important metric. Are you performing the way you had planned? Because if you're not, we have to do a deeper dive and get into that root cause analysis to uncover why not. We have to fix it. Okay, gross margins. You're going to want to track your gross margins per product line, per job, per crew, and relative to goal, okay, to your margin and per day. Okay, it's only if you measure it in all these ways that you can find the weak link. And here's my promise to you guys. All these metrics I'm taking you through and all these different categories, you are going to find weak areas. It's only natural because what's our thing? We're going to be working on continuous improvement as we go through that virtuous cycle that I took you through earlier. So that's why all of this is important. And let's not forget budget versus actual on every single job. Okay, job costing by job and by product line. That's how you know if you're performing well. If there's a great differential between what you budgeted for your cost of the job and your actual cost of the job, and your actual cost was a lot more, something went very wrong. And you have to get to the bottom of that because you just ate up a lot of profit. So you see, every little thing here impacts your profit. So if we make these little adjustments that I talked about earlier, on every job, we make these little adjustments each time, you're going to see massive results. Lastly, collections. That's important. You know, I always tell people when I was teaching at the University of Maryland business school students, I was teaching in the MBA program, and I used to tell them, you haven't really made a sale until you've collected all the money. Because if you haven't collected all the money, you didn't really make the sale that you thought you made. Okay, I'm sure all of you would agree. So you've got to track your collections. You've got to be on top of them. Okay, so, you know, days outstanding is what you want to look at and make sure that your days outstanding are minimum. Let's take a look at financial KPIs. Monthly P&L review. Okay, remember, it should be GAAP compliant, generally accepted accounting principles. So it should be on an accrual basis. If you are not practicing accrual basis accounting to manage your business, then you are not getting a clear picture of your profitability. You will have something for tax purposes, but you really won't know how you're performing as a company. So you want to do that every month. You want to look at your P&L, your profit and loss, your income statement. You want to look at your balance sheet, and you really should look at your cash flow analysis, your statement of cash flow. Most companies, most entrepreneurs most small businesses get into trouble when they run out of cash. Okay, so please, let's stay on top of that. You want to look at liquidity, solvency, and leverage ratios. Again, at CCN, we teach all this in our KPI Managing by the Numbers course. It's a 2-day course. Okay, we get in the weeds with this. We teach you how to do all of this. Look at how liquid your company is. How many months could you survive if you didn't sell anything for the next 60 days? Now, obviously, that's not the goal, but you always need to know how much runway you have in your business, how much runway till you're out of cash. Okay, really important. Okay, you want to look at your marketing, your sales, and production funnel reviews relative to your goal, because if you look at it relative to goal, you're going to identify inefficiencies. And again, all we're looking to do is improve upon our inefficiencies in every area of our company. As we do that, watch what happens to our profitability. Again, cash balances and cash forecast. I can't stress how important that is. So here's a quick lesson. I happen to know a few contractors who took in big deposits for jobs. They thought they were swimming in it, and they went out and bought a new car. I know somebody who bought a boat, and guess what? Next thing you know, they were running out of cash because they didn't take into account that they had not incurred any expenses for those jobs yet. So please, your cash balance, don't be misled by it. If you've got a lot of money in the bank right now, there could be a lot of reasons for it. And one of those reasons may not be that you're making a lot of money. Okay, so please listen to me on that. Okay, accounts receivable and accounts payable review should be done monthly. Okay, and you always need to know how much working capital you need to run your business. How much do you need every month to pay your bills? Okay, that is something you need to know. Okay, so now I told you about C cubed. That stands for culture, customer, and community. So let's talk about measuring employee satisfaction. Okay, I can't stress to you how important that is. Here's what I'm going to say to you. The lesser your employee satisfaction, the lesser your customer satisfaction, period. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. You're only going to be as good to your customers as your employees are, okay, in their satisfaction with the company. Happy employees, better work. Disgruntled employees, not so great work. And that's going to end up reflecting on the customer experience. So you got to focus on employee satisfaction, employee retention, because rapid turnover is disruptive to your organization, it's disruptive to your processes, and it's expensive, okay? And finding good people today isn't easy, okay? So you have to have a retention plan. Again, we talk about all this at CCN, okay? You have to talk about employee engagement, okay? Here's the thing. You have to get every employee to think like an owner. And that's what, we preach at CCN to our whole team. Think like an owner. How would you do this if this was your company? How would you treat the customer if you owned this company? Okay, it's the employee's best interest to treat the customer and treat everybody, all the stakeholders, okay, the same way the owner would, okay? And hopefully the owner would be treating them right? So that's really important, okay? Also, let's look at our repeat business and our referral business against total sales. As I mentioned earlier, those are free leads. And the only way you're going to get those free leads is if you're delivering a phenomenal customer experience. That should be your sole focus, phenomenal customer experience. Now, I like to add this last bullet point, and you may not be there yet, but as we train our members to be more successful contractors, and as they are now building wealth, we talk a lot about giving back and doing some charitable work. Charitable giving, it doesn't have to be in the way of cash. It could be in the way of services. It could be you partnering with some charity, so it's just something, because guess what? If you engage in some sort of charitable giving in your community and it's recognized, you will garner more respect for that. And that will ultimately improve your reputation. It's showing that you're taking an interest in your community. So one popular one in our industry is Habitat for Humanity. Okay, and that's all over the country, right? So that's something you could look at. But again, I'm not asking you to do that now if you're strapped for cash. I'm saying our goal is to get you to a point where you're really building wealth, because that's what you should be doing. And then we can talk about charitable giving and causes. Now, let's talk quickly about lagging indicators. We're coming up near the end, guys, so stick with me. These are metrics that will tell you how we've done. Monthly sales against close ratios, our net sales per leads issued, NSLI, our monthly profit and loss statement, our gross revenues produced and our gross margins, and customer satisfaction. These are lagging indicators, okay? They're lagging behind. We don't find these statistics until after it's happened, okay? But then we have what we call leading indicators. This is important. This is looking to the future. It predicts what's coming. Employee satisfaction equals customer satisfaction. Customer satisfaction equals improvement to your sales funnel. Speed of appointment increases your close rate. Demo rate increase your sales. A healthy stock market increases consumer confidence. Consumer confidence increases your inbound leads. Greater gross revenues produced equals greater gross margins. Okay, customer satisfaction translates into higher margins, because when customers are dissatisfied, you're going to have more expenses. All right, and faster collections also mean higher customer satisfaction. So these are all leading indicators that you want to be looking at on a regular basis in your company. So we analyze and we compare the value of benchmarking against industry data, against best companies that you're aspiring to be like, or versus yourself in a prior year. The cool thing about our network is we have a couple of hundred contractors. Everybody shares their data with each other if they want to. They don't have to. But the nice thing about that is they benchmark up each other and they challenge each other to be better. And it kind of creates this great competition across the US and Canada. And we have contractors helping contractors get to where they are. Actual versus benchmark is also important. You need to identify the gaps and then fill those gaps and look at the opportunity cost of the gap, meaning you need to do scenario planning for all of your work. So you want to strategize, do root cause analysis, scenario planning, probing and learning, and developing key initiatives. You need to be strategic. And that's what I'm really trying to get you to do in a financial way, so that you can, something that can truly be measured. Key initiatives to close the gap. Okay, that's the first improvement you want to do, is put forward key initiatives to close your gaps. Okay, we also have what we call QQTR, quality, quantity, time, and resources. You need to look at improving in every one of those 4 areas. And again, like I said before, you rinse and repeat. It's that 8-step virtuous cycle. Every time you go through it, you're going to improve upon it. Your productivity increases, your results multiply, your profits really climb. So now we have some gift opportunities for you. I'm going to pass it to Melissa to actually, Danielle's not with us. I'm going to pass it to Melissa to share what they have to offer.
Yes, I am Danielle for the day. But we're really excited to waive your onboarding fees if you sign up with Leap for today. And thanks to Gary and Fred for putting this on, and for all of you for being here. We're really, really excited to have all of this knowledge and power.
Thank you so much, Melissa. And if you want to schedule a demo to learn more about Leap, just photograph that QR code and it'll take you to a scheduling app where you can schedule that meeting with Leap. So I'm giving you a second to go ahead and photograph that, because I want to make sure you have time to do it.
Yeah, and with this QR code, not only are we waiving the onboarding fees, we're also doing 10% off. So this is an important QR code to take a photo of.
Folks, I'm going to tell you, I am a huge fan of Leap. Leap is a phenomenal company. They have tools that will absolutely be a difference maker for your business. We fully endorse Leap. So I encourage you to check them out. Okay, now for our gifts. Here's what we're going to do for you. Our first gift is a KPI dashboard. What if we gave you a fully built out KPI dashboard built in Excel so you could track all these metrics as I've just taken you through, plus a lot more metrics than I even discussed, okay? Now you can easily manage by the numbers with this, and this is a customizable dashboard for tracking marketing, sales, production, and finance, okay? We will provide that to you. All you have to do is register for a discovery call with Fred, okay? There's obviously no obligation there, but I think it's worth your while. Learn how CCN can hold your hand in transforming your business and driving your revenues and profits. The other gift is even more valuable, okay? We have at CCN numerous courses that we train on to our members. We have a 3-day streaming course called Sales Mastery and another one called Production Mastery. We are offering you a seat in one of these 3-day trainings. The value of this 3-day course is $39.97. You choose which one you want to do. And if you go through that demo with Fred, you will be invited to join one of these 3-day courses, no cost. Absolutely 100% free for you. It's a $4,000 value. So between the Leap offer, which I think is phenomenal, our offer of the KPI dashboard, okay, and taking one of our 3-day courses on us, okay, is a great incentive. So go ahead and make that appointment with Leap. Here is our QR code. If you take a picture of that QR code, you can then schedule an appointment with Fred, who's been on the call. He's been the one answering your messages. And he will take you through what CCN's all about and why so many contractors have been flocking to us to help them drive their businesses to new levels. Again, the QR code's there. The link is also written out for you. Now, I know we've run a little long. If you have questions for CCN, you can see Fred's email address. It's very simple. It's fnelson@contractors.net. And if you have questions for Leap, you can reach out to Danielle Bash. You didn't get to meet her today, but I can vouch for the fact she is a fabulous human being. So reach out to Danielle. It's dbash, D-B-A-S-C-H, at leap2digital.com. That's dbash@leap2digital.com. I'm sorry we went a few minutes late. I want to thank all of you for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure spending time with you today, and I hope you got a lot out of today's session. Thanks so much.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us.